such a simple mechanics, I can have an alignment. I didn't do any looping, I didn't do anything. And in the early 90s, this was, wow, this was really an astonishing thing. These people that were used to bend a lot of loops to make this climb. Now, by my point of view, if I see this, I'm very sad. I don't like it. And I want to let you understand why I don't like it. Now, give a look to the picture A, so it's pre-treatment. And this expresses a concept that I already told you. At the beginning of treatment, we usually have a lot of good contacts. I don't know if it's from there. Can you see this picture here? Okay, so it was allergy. Well, okay, you see the first molar and the second premolar in the upper are in perfect occlusion with the lower molar. That's how we like to finish all my cases, isn't it? Well, what do? We apply a superelastic wire from the molar to the canine and to the incisor. The idea is to have extracted the first premolar and bring the canine at its place. I'm not discussing here whether it's right or not right to make extraction. That's not the point. I want just to analyze the mechanics and what happened. So in B, I see something which is worrying me. What do you see? If you analyze the sagittal relation between the upper and the lower and the intercuspation, it's awful. It's awful. I mean, even the second premolar that is not bonded is not anymore in intercuspation. What's happening? Between the molar and the canine, we have what we call a geometry 3, a counterclockwise moment, and this creates a mesial tip of the molar and a pre-contact on the distal cusp. The pre-contact on the distal cusp is generating a rotation of the mandible to the posterior. Well, it's not a good start for me. I mean, this patient might finish perfectly, but we started, instead of going in that direction, in this way, transversally or even back. My condition now is not better than at the beginning. And this gives to me a lot of representation of what very often happens. If you go on and see, things are always worse. Look, we are almost on the other edge of the cusp. We were in a nice class 1. How does this happen? There are two factors. The mesial tip here is also pushing a little bit this premolar forward, but most of the problem is the posterior rotation of the mandible. It's a lot. Like that, we had the class 1 gone. Is it good? And believe me, he was proud of it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have published this on the American Journal of Orthodontics. Besides, the peer reviewers probably didn't remark any problem. So, is it me that I'm a strange guy? Am I the only person that's seen this kind of problems? And I don't know, maybe, but this is my opinion. This is not good. If you have this occlusion at the beginning, this is an asset you have. And if I have an asset, I want to preserve it. If you have money in the pocket, you're not throwing it away. That's what they're doing. We are lucky, and he was lucky, because this patient has a very good function. So the elevator of the mandible worked here, until the molar has approached tried it again, and things are getting better. They're not as good as they were at the beginning, but between C and D there is an improvement. So, I think this will be a happy end. But why should we have to do something like this? This is not the way to work, in my opinion. If you start moving teeth without thinking, that's very common. It's very common that the function of your patient is taking care of your errors, but sometimes it doesn't. And then you are in trouble. And then you say, well, you know, it's okay, can finish a little bit in class 2, doesn't matter. But would you like this to happen to your children? I don't think so. I mean, we are always ready to find an excuse for ourselves. But then, if it happens to us, to be the patient or the parents of this patient, I don't think we would be very happy. And we wouldn't be very happy, especially if we know that there is a way to avoid all of this. Now, in this case, I mean, there could be tons of solutions to avoid this side effect. The bad thing is just to place a wire without thinking. There are even other side effects. For example, the canine that had a nice inclination finishes here very vertical. See? I prefer that inclination over there than the inclination that we had at the end. And then you say, oh, but there is a tip inserted in the slot. So this will be corrected. But the tip inserted in the slot again creates other problems. Extrusion of the anterior teeth. So why do we have to create all these problems? All these problems can be just avoided if we think. Number one, which are the teeth to be moved? Look at them. Which are the teeth to be moved in this case? Provided that you try to extract the first premolar. Only the canine. You might say, oh, but I want to open the bite in the incisor and to intrude the upper incisor. I'm not sure if you really need it. Probably it's better to intrude the lower. But the truth is that if I see this, the only thing I need to move as a major movement is the canine. That's why we have to work, we have to think mostly segmented. Because we have to build up, if we really want to work with this, a big, stable, reactive unit which includes all the teeth that we don't want to move. And then move the canine. Or, nowadays, I could even avoid to band the other teeth and use a tab to move the canine. We have to focus on the needed movement. We have to focus on the teeth that need the movement. And we have to consider that if we use just a straight wire for alignment, the possibilities that we don't create a side effects are close to zero. Because there are so many force systems that they go on, the sum of them will be deleterious. So, when people ask me, what is the space, there was a question yesterday I had from you. What is the space that you leave to the straight wire? For sure is not the initial alignment. Initial alignment with the straight wire, for me, is the worst thing I can imagine. If you tell me use the straight wire in finishing, that's another story. It's okay, but not here, not here. You need to have, if possible, already a stable occlusion, and then use a straight wire to correct small things. Usually I do this correction with a straight wire, thinking to the shape-driven mechanics. This means that I make small bending of the shape of the arch to correct minor things. But this is This is not to be done with night-high wire. So I'm doing this using mostly a beta titanium and minor bends to correct things. I'm not working with a full arch though, but my students, other doctors that come to my courses too, and that's okay in the finishing stages. But not now, not at this level. You are creating problems. Okay?